The following is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Minnesota.
Welcome to a special edition of Twins Live batting practice from Target Field. The Twins and the Pirates here at the ballpark in downtown Minneapolis tonight. But we're giving you, the fan, an opportunity to come inside the ballpark much earlier than otherwise allowed. The Twins will be taking batting practice here shortly, and we will be live with you from start to finish. I'm Anthony LaPanta on the field at Target Field. Gates don't open for most home games until an hour before first pitch, so fans never get the opportunity to see their home team take batting practice. And today we're going to give you that chance. We're going to take you inside all of the work that gets done prior to game time for the hitters, for the pitchers, for the base runners, for fielding, all of that. Every element of getting yourself ready for a ball game tonight, we'll be taking you inside. Roy Smalley and Tim Laudner will be joining me, and we'll break down what hitters are working on, how players prepare themselves running the bases, how they get their work done in the infield. And we also want to allow you the opportunity to get involved with the show. For more on that, we welcome Katie Emmer.
Thanks, Anthony. Hey, fans, have you ever wondered what Tim and Roy like to do before games? Maybe even our upcoming guests, Joe Mauer and Kyle Gibson? Well, now's your chance to get involved. You can tweet those questions at FS North using the hashtag TwinsBP for a chance to have your questions answered later on in the show. Anthony?
Thanks very much, Katie. We'll be joined live by Joe Mauer momentarily. We'll also have Kyle Gibson join us from the outfield while he's shagging balls today, and I'm joined now by Roy Smalley and Tim Laudner. Batting practice is much more than just practicing batting. Team guys will get their swings. They will certainly get themselves ready to step in the batter's box, but there's a lot of other things going on, and we're going to explain all that to you. It starts with the way players are broken up. Twins have 12 position players on their active roster. They're split into 3 groups to get ready to hit here tonight.
Yeah, and I'll go over these groups real quick with you, but the reality is that you want to make sure when you have your groups how these are going to be designated, who's going to be hitting in what group, and it becomes very routine-oriented for these guys. And so there are some ball clubs, and I know, Roy, our ball club, we talked about the fact that there were infielders that hit together, then the outfielders hit together, and the DH might be thrown in with the infielders. The catchers would maybe hit with the infielders, and then the extra guys would hit in the last group. There are some teams that go by batting order, and the first 4 guys in the batting order may hit in a group. Then the second 5 guys in the batting order may hit in a group, and then the extras. The Twins do it just a little bit different. They go by seniority. So however long you've been around, you get to pick whatever group that you want to hit in. But most importantly, Roy, you want to make sure that you hit in the same group every day, because the thing you don't want to do is that you don't want to miss hitting in your group that you're supposed to hit. You don't want to walk on the field and say, hey, what group am I hitting in today?
Where am I supposed to be?
Where am I supposed to be right now? You want baseball players are so routine oriented, you want to hit in the same group every day. So we're going to give you the groups right off the get-go. Adrianza, Polanco, Kepler, and Rosario. Group 1.
Group 1, okay.
Garver, Wilson,
Seniority.
Forsythe, Mauer. Group 2. Joe wants to hit in Group 2 all the time.
That's the other thing. The seniority is either they pick the group they want to be in.
And in the third group today, we're going to have Cave, Field, Austin, and Sano. Miguel Sano, he likes to hit in the third group, and we're going to talk about it when the third group comes around. But Miguel Sano wants to hit off a particular batting practice pitcher. He wants to hit off of Jeff Smith. He throws in the third group. That's where Miguel Sano is going to hit today.
So part of it is hitting. The other part is you got to get ready to play defense. And as you can see behind us, the Twins are just getting started. The first group will be hitting, but there's also work being done with the leather.
There's so much going on. I just got to tell you guys, since I was a kid and a fan and hanging around ballparks and even as a player and now, I love what's going on in batting practice. Everything about it. Of course, I loved working on hitting. I like watching guys work on hitting, but there's so much more going on in batting practice while the hitting is being done. And you're going to see right over here we have Eddie Guardado hitting from the first base side. He's got Fungo, Coach Eddie Guardado, hitting Fungos to the second baseman. Eddie will hit from this side to the second baseman and the third baseman. Why would that be? Well, first of all, you might wonder why Eddie Guardado is, because he can't hit Fungos worth a darn. But in the meantime, But in the meantime, he will hit to the second baseman and third baseman to avoid the big screen that's out in front of the pitcher. That's the easiest route for ground balls to be hit to the third baseman and second baseman. And then over on the other side, on the third base side, a coach will hit to the shortstop and the first baseman. And they usually hit to one guy for a series of ground balls, and then that guy will be done. Then they'll hit to the other guy. So shortstop first, in this case, he'll be done. Then he'll hit over to Joe and hit to the first baseman.
And we've already seen a little bit of this. So Eddie was hitting to the second baseman. First he comes, plays in, fields a few balls there where he just throws it back to the fungo hitter. And now here we can see the second baseman already working on his feeds to second base.
Right, and so it's important to kind of work your way in. Just like in batting practice, they'll start bunting, they'll start taking some easy swings, hitting the ball the opposite field. It's the same way. You get started, get a little routine started, some easy ground balls first from a shorter distance. Then you start lengthening out your throws a little bit. The middle infielders will work an awful lot on that feed to their partner, their double play partner, for a couple reasons. It's important for them to be able to feed the ball in the right spot. I've always said that you make up the most time on a double play with the pivot guy able to get a good throw and be the quickest. So the guy that fields a ground ball will, as John Wooden said, be quick but don't hurry, and we'll work on giving them a good feed, giving the shortstop in this case a good feed, and they'll work because there are times when you're throwing from funny spots and your partner needs to see some of those to see which way the ball tails, see which way you tend to throw the ball one side of the base or another when you're moving around.
The hitters here in Group 1 are brought to you by the Mall of America. We're watching the first group hit. It's Adrianza, Polanco, Kepler, and Rosario. As we mentioned earlier, this group will hit. Then we'll get into Groups 2 and 3, but right now we're joined by a special guest, Twins first baseman. It still doesn't sound quite right for me to say that, Joe Mauer. Joe will be hitting in the second group. We'll hear more about that momentarily. But Joe, we were just talking about all the little things happening here during batting practice, all the choreography that goes into it, the balls flying everywhere. It's part of the routine of being a ball player to get yourself ready to play.
Yeah, well, this isn't part of it, but this is kind of fun. But yeah, we're just trying to get everything ready, for 7 o'clock and building towards that moment.
Joe, you've been taking batting practice for some 14 years, 5-6 days a week. Do you enjoy it? Is this the most relaxing part of your day? Do you really get a lot of work done here, or are you just basically warming up for the game, or do you detest batting practice? Is this the most fun part of your day vocationally?
Well, I don't know. I guess some days are good and some days not so good. But, it's all about preparation for 7 o'clock. Today I want to get out here and take a few extra ground balls, first day in, and, kind of see what the field looks like after, the road trip. I know they had a concert here. So get out there and take some ground balls and, just get comfortable for, like I said, 7 o'clock.
Joe, do you like batting practice?
Not every day, to be honest with you, no. But, that's the thing. I guess, I've been around a little while, and I kind of know how many swings we need. But it is good, especially the first day I like batting practice, get out here and get acclimated to the stadium.
Joe, I've watched you take batting practice for a long time. I watched you do a number of things with the ball on the field. We're going to show you something that we did here, taking some shots of you actually hitting in games. And this is one of my favorite things that we've done. We're going to show you lashing a ball down the left field line here, and then watch where Joe hits this ball on the plate. When a ball's on the outside part of the plate, you hit the ball back over the plate. The contact is out further. He mashes a home run here off the batter's eye in center field. You're going to see this ball is more center in just a little bit, and look where the contact point is, way out in front. Joe has this tremendous ability to do a number of things. It's been the hallmark for him, keeping his head still. His stride is so nice and soft, and then he has this amazing ability to bring the big end of the bat with his hands. So it's an efficient move of the big end, which is what you hit with. When his hands decide to go, here comes the big end. So now we're at batting practice. You've been doing this a lot of years. Do you work on what we just saw? Do you work on hitting the ball the other way and getting the feel about where that big end is?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. When we do have batting practice, I come out here. The first round is basically to left field. Try to see the ball deep and get my hands working. And then the next round is back up the middle. Kind of like you said, getting that ball a little bit further out. And then third round is pull side. Yeah. And then, that's getting the ball furthest out. So, those are my first 3 rounds. A lot of guys have their different routines, but I dedicate each round to one round to each part of the field, and then after that, it's kind of
wherever it's pitched. Has that changed at all? You've been around a long time. When you first came up, did you take batting practice the exact same way you do now?
Yeah, actually, it's been my routine this whole time, and I actually learned from it from Molitor when I was a little kid. In a camp at Cretin-Derham Hall High School. He came back and talked when he was playing with the Twins. So I remember him talking about spraying the ball and kind of starting from foul pole to foul pole, and that's kind of when I decided. I was like, hey, probably should listen to this guy. You know, he's got a few hits
if
under
it
his
ain't
belt.
broke, don't fix it,
Don't
Roy.
fix that, huh?
And a part of your routine is hitting in the second group. That started when you were a catcher because you had to get upstairs to get your game plan work done. You've just decided to stick with it as a first baseman?
Yeah, you know, it's just kind of been my routine. I like things, more of the same each day, and just trying to, like I said, keep things the same, so it gives myself the best chance at 7 o'clock. But I used to hit in the second group as a catcher just because right after that I'd go have an extra meeting with our starter that night. And, now it's come and hit in the second group, and then if I need to take more ground balls, go out and do it, or go inside and try to figure out how to get some hits against this next pitcher.
You've achieved some big numbers this year, 2,000 hits, climbing to the top of the team's all-time doubles list. Well, and I know this is a big time right now where people are all talking about the analytics and studying the exit velocities and all this. Well, we went back to one of the earliest hits we could find. I wonder if you could take us in. So the ballpark and where this took place.
Right down on the end.
That's right in the front yard there in Lexington Parkway in St. Paul. So, yeah.
All right, so now let's take
I'd be really impressed if you had StatCast.
Well, yeah, take us through the play. We got it right here. Take a look. You've got your strike zone is there.
Oh, yeah.
Target point out front.
Yeah, launch angle.
Launch angle.
Point of contact.
Nice.
Now, the exit velocity of 10.3 miles an hour, is that about what you're looking for?
Yeah, probably that one, yeah. You got to remember it's a wiffle ball bat, right? No. But, yeah, that's pretty good footage right there.
And we've got a distance traveled of 63 feet. Is that one of the better long balls you hit back in those days?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the sidewalk. That's at least a double, right?
Was over the sidewalk a homer?
Well, we didn't have a whole lot of room there, but yeah, actually when we'd play our famous game step ball, that was a homer. So.
Now the last thing is we got to take a look at the base running path here. I know it's all about efficiency. What do you think about the path traveled there to circle the bases?
Well, I think that looks like my home run trot right there.
You're
maybe
gonna
I
have to
thought
get
it
you
was
a
out
map.
there.
Yeah. I'm not sure where to go there, Joe.
Not very efficient, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you know what's great about that? When he hit that ball, we had the stop action on it. If you put that up against what we showed you earlier, his hands in the big end of the barrel, the barrel of the bat, are in the same doggone position. He's been doing this for over 30 years for guys. The
Roy,
same swing.
There were some guys that were born to hit.
Some guys know how to hit.
My favorite part of it is in the background. If you could hear the audio, it was the whole crowd saying, "Way to go, Joe!"
Yeah.
This little guy
Some
just
things never
roped
change.
one over the sidewalk.
Brother's pumping me up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Joe, thanks very much for joining
absolutely.
us. Sorry to disrupt your routine.
No,
we'll let you get back to work.
this is good stuff.
Way to go,
good to
buddy.
see you guys.
Yeah, you
Thanks
too,
for
Joe.
joining.
Thanks.
No problem.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
So Joe Mauer will be hitting in the second group here. Right now, back to the action in the first group. We told you the players involved here, Adrianza, Polanco, Kepler, and Rosario. Joe talked about his routine going opposite field, then center, then the pull field. Most guys will get 3 rounds where it's just about whatever they want, whatever they feel comfortable with, 5-6 swings in each time through.
Right.
And I'm not convinced, and Roy, you and I watch a lot of batting practice, but I'm not convinced that everybody is as disciplined as Joe Mauer is as disciplined
I don't think
with
anybody
their
is.
routine with their routine when they go in for batting practice. You can try to be, and you can try to do some of the things that you need to work on. Obviously, there are things that some of these young Twins hitters need to work on that we'd like to see on a daily basis. Maybe we're not seeing some of the things that we'd really like to from some of these guys, and you wonder, what it is that's going to put them over the edge. Joe had his routine, probably since the day that
evidently since
3.5 that he hit the ball over the sidewalk.
Right. A Mauer Stadium ground rule double at least. But, as you watch various hitters, you're right, Timmy, they'll all go up at the suggestion of a hitting coach or a veteran player. Just like Joe at an early age listened to Paul Molitor, they'll listen to veteran players and they'll watch how other guys do their work. But you get a guy like Eddie Rosario and we'll see Jorge Polanco in the lineup or in the batter's box right now. And they've got a routine too. It's not quite as disciplined, and I was interested to see Eddie Rosario work because he will work the opposite field his first round.
Right.
But then it's pretty much wherever the ball's pitched, he's trying to hit it as hard as he possibly can.
And a guy like, Anthony, a guy like Jorge Polanco, who we see his numbers from the left side are really good. And from the right side, they're not as good. So he's going to focus a little bit more on trying to get his timing, trying to get a comfort level, right-handed, trying to get relaxed into that right-handed batter's box. He knows how he feels in the left-handed batter's box. And Roy, you as a switch hitter, was there a time when, you know what, the bat didn't feel right when you stood in the right-handed batter's box?
Yeah, it happens
didn't
a lot.
feel good when you stood in the left-handed batter's box.
It happens a lot. You're two different hitters as a switch hitter, and the challenge, as we look at Max Kepler, the challenge for a switch hitter is you're two different hitters, and you want to work on, in this case, let's say a left-handed swing because you have a right-hander pitching against you, and you want to get ready for the game tonight. But you also have to keep working on your other stroke if it's not feeling as well. Generally speaking, that happens well before this. It happens earlier in the day, some extra hitting.
You can see a couple of these guys right now. I mean, we're a couple of rounds into this group, and usually as they get deeper, you'll get one round where you're just trying to pull the ball, see how far you can hit it to your pull field.
You watch Eddie Rosario right here. He's looking for the ball middle in, and you'll see how his shoulders really spin around. If the ball is out over the plate, he'd be hitting it to the left, but see, he'll take that pitch because it's away. He's trying to get a ball from the middle in. This is like, okay, it's 3-1, it's 2-0. I know a fastball is coming. I'm going to try to really juice one to my pull field, see what happens.
Some guys I've talked to this year too have referred to the different rounds as they want it. Their first 3 rounds they'll have their routine, and then the 4th round is what they're working on. Maybe it's a hit and run approach, maybe it's an opposite field approach, or maybe it is a pull field approach. But over the years, most often you'll see guys, once they get a few rounds in, now it's where it's let her rip and have some fun, hitters count type swings.
Yeah, it's part of the fun of playing baseball and batting practice, as a matter of fact. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's still grown men playing a little boy's game, and there are some times in batting practice where you just want to have fun, see how far you can hit it, see if you can work on getting a ball that goes to your pull field the right way. But what you see here also in the bigger box in the middle of the screen, James Rowson standing right behind the cage watching his charges hit, and they will have worked on things before this underneath in the extra cages, and now he's watching. Now they take this out to batting practice on the field, and he's watching to see if what they're working on the tee and on soft toss and everything underneath, if that's translating out here the way he wants it to on the field.
Each group will have had a leader. The guy who's usually the leader is the guy who swings first, and as you watch Max Kepler get back in here, Kepler on his last round hit a bomb into right center. You see the diagnostics on it there, an exit velocity of over 105 and 434 feet.
That's a blast.
The other thing is, and we talk about, turning the bat loose. Some of it is to continue to get loose and get your body loose. The other thing is that you want to get that bat head out in front. Roy, I know that we both talk in the broadcast about making sure that bat head gets out in front. That doesn't mean you have to pull everything. However, it does mean that you want to get that bat head out in front of you and make contact out front. You can still, if you're Max Kepler, drive the ball to left field. You can still pull the baseball depending upon where it's pitched. But if your bat head never travels out through the strike zone, if you never get extension, there's a really strong possibility that you're not going to get any extension during the course of the ball game. And you want to be able to get some extension so that you can drive the baseball, so that you can put some backspin on the baseball and hit the ball from gap to gap. Out front is where it's happening. You might fight off some pitches, and we see it, Andy Rosario, fight off some pitches that are deep in the zone trying to foul them off. But the reality is he wants to hit that baseball with that bat head out in front. You have to practice that during batting practice.
He just hit one about 5 rows up in the second deck in right center field. But Roy, you and I have had this conversation before, and one of the all-time Twins greats, Tony Oliva, would always put it simply: you want to hit home runs in the game?
You got to hit him in batting practice.
You got to hit him in batting practice.
Well, that's exactly right, and Tony was absolutely right, because you can't spray the ball around the field and never look for the ball in the zone that you wanted to hit it long in the game if you don't do it in batting practice. You have to. Timmy was just talking about getting extension and getting the bat head out in front, getting that feeling in batting practice. It's absolutely right. You have, if you're going to hit the ball long to your pull field, you got to in a game. You got to practice doing that in batting practice.
So you can see right now there's some transition going on the field. The ball collector brings the
Pick up
bucket
the
in
balls.
from,
Pick up the
from
balls.
short center field. That means that it's the end of the round for Group 1. They're out of time. You saw that last round. They were waving 2 fingers. That meant everybody got 2 swings in the final round through. But now they'll transition. Group 2 will be hitting in a moment. But Group 1 is brought to you by Mall of America. Kepler.
Get back to school styles that rule at Mall of America. With so many stores, it's the perfect place to find your school style.
We continue at Target Field with a special batting practice edition of Twins Live. The first group is done hitting. The second group is just about to dig in the cage. I'm Anthony LaPanta at Target Field. We're bringing you inside what's happening here as the Twins get ready for tonight's game with the Pirates. We will have a special guest during this segment. For more on that, let's check in once again with Katie Emmer.
Thanks, Anthony. Hey, fans, have you ever wanted to know what Tim and Roy like to do before games? Maybe even our upcoming guest, Kyle Gibson. Well, now's your chance to get involved. You can tweet us your questions at FS North using the hashtag TwinsBP for a chance to have your questions answered later on in today's show. Anthony, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Katie. The second group is just digging in here for Minnesota. The first group got done with their rounds of batting practice, and now we're on to Group 2.
Group 2, here we go, and don't forget Garver, Wilson, Forsythe, and Mauer. And again, this is so routine oriented. These guys want to hit in this same group on a daily basis. Number 1, because they are routine oriented, and number 2, they don't want to miss their group. They don't want to be asking around somebody and saying, hey, what group I hit in today? What group are you hitting in today? You want to keep these as consistent as possible on a daily basis so that you can go about getting your work in.
Group 2 is brought to you by Luther Auto. It's Garver and Wilson with then Forsythe and Mauer. We heard Joe talk about the fact that he landed in Group 2 early in his career because he was the catcher. He's in this group where the 2 catchers hit for Minnesota.
Right, and as we talked about earlier, it's done largely on a case of seniority here with the Twins. Timmy, when you and I played, we were, as you mentioned in the first segment of the show here, the infielders hit together, outfielders hit together. Catchers and catcher and DH might hit one and one and the one with the other, but they do it here by seniority and where guys want to hit, and where they want to hit has to do with routine. It has to do with the catchers wanting to get with their pitchers, and frankly, in some cases, and we saw this when we played too, it has to do with when the really big sluggers wanted to hit against which batting practice pitcher, and we'll talk about that a little bit right now. But right now, you can see just up the middle strokes, just trying to hit the ball. Logan Forsythe here, just trying to hit the ball from the second base position around to the shortstop position, wherever it's hit. He wants, as Joe said, you want to let the ball travel, get used to seeing the ball a long time and putting the big end of the bat on the ball. He'll lengthen out here as the rounds go along.
Absolutely, and the other thing is we're going to see Joe step into the batter's box.
This is where everybody ought to stop and watch.
This is where we should just lay right out because to watch Joe Mauer take batting practice is just an absolute treasure. It's a joy. This guy knows how to go about his craft, and he's had this routine again, since we've seen him hit the wiffle ball over the sidewalk. It's a pleasure.
Early in Joe's career, when he was really at his best, I used to stop whatever I was doing to watch him take his batting practice. And in this first round, where he would hit line drives into straightaway left field, if you went out there and threw a beach towel,
sure,
all 5 would land within inches, if not on that towel. It was like clockwork how efficiently he would hit balls in the same spot.
And the reason that he does that and ultimately is able to do that is because he wants to, especially the first round, he wants to let the ball travel a long way to the plate, and then no matter where it is on the plate in the strike zone, he wants to get his hands in a position where the big end of the bat contacts the ball. So whether it's just inside middle or just outside middle, by being able to move his hands to get the big end of the bat there, he starts feeling where the big end is. And to Tim's point earlier, as he goes along in the round, and what Joe said, the next round, it'll be more like where it's pitched, and he'll hit it mostly gap to gap because he's just trying to find the big end of the bat. And then later on, his last round or two, he wants the big end of the bat way out in front of him, contacting the ball so the ball goes to his pull field. But it is a routine, and he's a magician at it, no question.
We're going to hear from you, the fans watching us today and joining us via Twitter. Our first Twitter question is regarding where players are played defensively these days. It comes from Doug, who says, with all the shifts, do you adjust at all how you prepare in batting practice to try to defeat a shift?
No. No, you don't, Doug. Sorry. No.
That depends on the player.
First, the hard answer is no. The real answer is that hitting is just so difficult. When you step into the batter's box, if you've got your head so full of everything that's going on around you, how this guy's going to pitch you, how they're playing you defensively, I want to get a pitch that I'm going to hit down the left field line, inside the shift. It is just so difficult, and you want to try to simplify hitting as much as you possibly can, even to the point where it's see ball, hit ball. Yes, you don't want to fall into a trap where if you're a left-handed hitter that you're just going to keep grounding the ball down to the second baseman. Yes, you want to try something different. However, to stand up there and think that you can guide the baseball to some place, I think that's a little bit more difficult of an operation than you might think it is. What's your opinion, Roy?
Okay.
How do you argue with that logic? So now,
can you beat the shift?
I would not be able to beat my head against the wall and ground a ball into 4 infielders time and time, keep making right turns back to the dugout without preparing myself to learn how to hit the ball in the opposite field. If they're going to give me the full 90 feet, I got to believe that I can roll the ball over there. And until I get 2 strikes. 2 strikes, yeah, I mean, I'm going to do the best I can. But at some point in time, and it depends on the situation. I mean, if I come up there and have a chance to hit the ball at the ballpark, it's a 2-0 count. I'm not going to try to roll the ball in the left field, so I'll try to hit my normal way. But I'm telling you, Timmy, I couldn't do it. I couldn't hit 37 ground balls in the whole right field and have that guy playing short right field throw me out.
Of course you could. And for me, the other part of that answer is because you and I, not that we're better than anybody else, but you and I did have the opportunity to say, okay, with 2 strikes, I'm going to shorten up. And when you take a look at batting practice or when you watch a Major League Baseball game, very seldom do you see somebody, and we've talked about it on our broadcasts, in our pregame, postgame shows, we do not see 2-strike approach. You do not see a 2-strike approach. You don't see somebody choking.
The best way to get a team out of the shift is to beat the shift. And you get a couple of base hits to left, they're not going to shift you anymore.
We've already seen that happen. Gigantic shifts to the around to one side. Guy lays down 1 bunt and gets a base hit. Guess what? The third baseman comes back after 1 time. It's amazing.
We have another Twitter question. This one regards switch hitting. We talked about this earlier. And he wants to know, how often would you take BP from both sides of the plate on the same day?
Every day, a little bit. Every day, a little bit, because I can't stress enough how a switch hitter is 2 different hitters, and it just doesn't translate when you step across to the other batter's box. You could be going really well left-handed and not right-handed, as Jorge Polanco has been so far this year, and then all of a sudden it could switch. And it just depends on who the pitcher is and a certain amount of tough pitches you get. It can throw you off a little bit one way, and then you start swinging the bat better the other way. So a switch hitter basically just has to do double the work to really get it right.
One thing going on right here, if we can get a shot of what's happening in right field, we talked about infielders taking fungos. Here they're working Eddie Rosario taking balls off the right field wall, so you can see the fungos being hit from first base. This is a guy who's played in this ballpark throughout his career, and yet he's still working on this skill right here to read the ball off the different parts of the wall in right field.
Yeah, and he's played mostly left field and not a lot of right field, so this comes as a little bit of a new experience every time he goes out there. He has to remind himself, but these are the kinds of things that are happening in between every pitch. There's a cadence and a rhythm, and it's really beautiful to watch in baseball, I think. the hitter hits the ball, and there are ground balls being hit to either side of the infield. There are fly balls being hit to the outfielder, and then everything waits and stops just a second until the next pitch is thrown to the hitter.
And what's funny is all the screens that you see set up here, it's just the comfort level and the trust that guys have as he stands with his back to a hitter, hitting the fungos from there. But I think your point is an interesting one. You're the shortstop working on your ground balls.
Right.
But everybody has to make sure their eyes are on the batting cage every pitch that's thrown to the hitter, because that's unpredictable. The ball comes whistling off his bat. As soon as the ball leaves his bat, now the fungo hitter
right,
hits
so you can see
ball.
right here, there's 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. You see the ground ball, 1,005, 1,006.
Now his eyes go back into the cage.
7 or 8 seconds in between each pitch, and as soon as he's made contact, the coach is ready to hit another one. He catches it. Now you're right. You're gonna watch the hitter, because first and foremost, you don't want to get yourself killed by a line drive off the bat. So now the ball's hit. Now the coach hits it to Jorge. He flips the ball to second. Now the guy has to get ready because the hitter's about to hit again. And that goes on for 40 or 45 minutes of batting practice every day.
So right there, you can see the fungo hitter on the left part of your screen, just left of the batting cage. And as soon as the hitter hits, then he'll toss his fungo up in the, or toss the baseball up in the air to hit it with a fungo.
And that's Gene Glenn hitting to Jorge. So as soon as he hears that crack of the bat, and it's not at his shortstop, he hits it, he flips it to the second baseman. Adrianza throws it back to Gene Glenn. Gene Glenn has got it now in his hand about the time Joe hits the ball. Now here comes the next one to Polanco.
It's like a symphony, isn't it, Roy?
You know, it's one of the things that I love batting practice. All of this stuff that's going on, guys are working really hard on their craft at, in 7-second intervals all over the field.
So we're in the middle of Group 2. Group 2 is brought to you by Luther Auto. Group 2 includes the players you see on the screen there, Garver, Wilson, Forsythe, Maurer, and they're now getting deeper in their round, where there was a time where the Twins used to, at this point, they'd get around where it was get yourself on, get them over, get them in, where it was swing for a base hit the first swing, second swing is a guy on second base with nobody out, you got to get him over, and then the third swing was get him in from third base. I asked Joe if he still does that, and he said some days he will just put himself through that drill, but he said some of the other guys would rather work, they want to work just 4 hit and run swings, or just some game situation, whatever it might be, where they feel they need a little work.
And if you don't practice it, you're probably not going to do it in the course of a ball game. And so if you don't get it in your head that, okay, the first time through my sequence of pitches in batting practice, I'm gonna hit the ball in the hole between first and second. I'm gonna get him over. I'm gonna get him over. I'm gonna get him over. I'm gonna practice a couple of hit and runs. So I'm gonna swing no matter what, and I'm gonna put the ball in play, and I'm gonna stay on top of the baseball. Now, when that base runner gets to second, I'm gonna get him over again. Now I'm gonna get him over to third. Now I'm gonna practice hitting a fly ball to the outfield so that I can score that runner from third with a sacrifice fly. If I don't practice that, I'm going to have a hard time doing it in the course of a game. I want to make sure that I have it in my head what my plan is when we have those situations during the ball game.
Now you can see the visiting team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, is out getting set to stretch as this group wraps up, and once again we see the transition. The Shaggers now bring the balls in. We replenish the bucket at the pitcher's mound, and we get set to move on as the choreography continues here for batting practice. Pirates will stretch on the side in a small area. It's the way the visiting teams always do it. Not much room, but they got to get themselves ready. And as we prepare now for Group 3, Group 2 was brought to you by Luther Auto.
There's something big coming this Labor Day. It's Luther's biggest used car clearance event of the year. Now through Labor Day, get clearance pricing on over 4,000 pre-owned vehicles, including over 1,300 factory certified. Plus, over 90% of Luther's vehicles are priced within Kelley Blue Book's Price Advisor fair market range. Now that's big. Don't forget, every vehicle comes with the Luther Advantage, including gas and car wash discounts at holiday station stores. So roll on into your nearest Luther location, lutherauto.com.
Twins Live batting practice live from Target Field as the Twins prepare for the series opener against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm Anthony LaPanta at Target Field. The players are getting ready. That's what we've been studying here throughout the first couple of groups, and we'll get to the third group in a moment. But first, Dustin Morse, Twins VP of Communications, takes us through what the rest of the organization has to get ready, including the baseballs.
All right, right, we're here in the home clubhouse at Target Field, specifically the laundry room, and I'm with Tim Burke, the home clubhouse attendant, who has a lot of different duties here at the ballpark, but one thing he does each and every day is he prepares the baseballs for the game. And Tim, there's much more to it than just simply opening the boxes and dumping it in the bag. What do you got to do here with this mud?
Well, MLB sends us a jar of mud. Sends usually a couple to each team, so we're all using the same mud. And I just take it and put a thin layer of the mud on my hands, and then basically paint the ball to where there's a nice even coating that I feel, and then I go back over it and I finish rubbing it in. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, the leather of the ball dictates the condition of dictates the color of the ball, so sometimes it doesn't make it. Like, I've got a couple of these that aren't going to make it, but that's usually the process.
And you're not just doing this for fun. I mean, there's a method to the madness here. When these balls come out of the boxes, there's a slick coat to it, so this mud helps pitchers with their control and accuracy. And really, everybody across the game does the same thing. It's this mud specifically from a river in Philadelphia that adds that little light coat that makes things a little bit easier for the pitchers and catchers to work through a game. And Tim, when you do some math, you know, you're preparing 12 to 15 dozen every game, and the average pitches, there's about 300 to 320 pitches per game. So that means that each one of these balls that you spend about 10 to 15 seconds on lasts about 3 to 4 pitches?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I wish it was a little bit more than that.
Well,
that's all I can say.
I appreciate you spending some time with me, Tim, and you know what? You can't play the game without the baseball.
No, you certainly can't. The baseballs are ready, and they're different balls that are used here during batting practice, but they are ready. Our third group is brought to you by CenturyLink, and we have a special guest as we see the third group start to hit, and that's a guy out there chasing him down in the outfield, Kyle Gibson, Twins starting pitcher, who's doing a little running today. He said this was going to be a high-impact shagging session for him today. How's it going so far, Kyle?
Power shag, I think is what you call it.
Yeah, what do you call it, Kyle?
Oh, it's power shagging. Been a little slow today, though. Been a little slow till this group. Hopefully Megan and Cave can give me a couple. I'm going to have to go swim and do a little bit more bike work a little bit if they don't.
Kyle will start for Minnesota on Thursday, so his bullpen session already took place today. This is not just fun and games. This is cardio for you out there.
Oh, this is fun and games. Hold on now. We always have fun out here. This is definitely fun, but you know, it's just another way to kind of get me active and, you know, get me 15, 20 minutes of running without being on a treadmill. I'm not a treadmill guy. I don't like sitting there running in one place. So I'd rather be out here running around and doing a little baseball activity instead.
So Kyle, this is Roy. As you are out there shagging, since time immemorial, pitchers have hated shagging. They just hate. I mean, you know, it says they got to stand out there and get the ball, throw them back in for the hitters to get their work in. But you're really making something out of it. Can you really keep yourself interested in this for 40 minutes?
Oh yeah, I get made fun of
power shagging. Power shagging.
I get made fun of quite a bit. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna get in trouble from Molly for that one. That's not
good. The flashback right there.
I get made fun of quite a bit because not only do I run around, but I like PFPs. Take it. I like PFPs in spring training. I like shagging BP. So day one of PFPs, I'm like the only guy that's excited in spring training. So I like to be out here and feel like an athlete again. You know, we get stuck in the bump a little bit on the middle of the field, and we don't get to run around as much. So to be able to come out here and run around and feel like it's high school again is a lot of fun.
I got to believe it keeps your skills up. You're one of the better fielding pitchers in the game, and so why wouldn't you run around and show some athleticism?
Yeah, you know, I like to think that every now and then when we're short on a position player, you're good. When we're short on a position player, I can be the guy, but I think that's just a little bit too lofty of expectations to think that someday I'm going to be in the outfield, but I wouldn't mind it. That'd be fun.
Go get it. Go get it.
I have some range here. Ooh. So Kyle, oftentimes there's a strategy for guys where they try to position themselves right next to somebody else so that they limit how much ground they have to cover. Do guys know when you're on power shagging day, so they say, hey, today's the day to stand near Kyle Gibson?
Oh yeah, they like to stand right around me. Even if I'm not power shagging, I don't mind going after balls. So guys will stand around me a little bit, just let me cover the ground. So
You're gonna have to play a little taller on that one.
Yeah, that's a wall. See, I like to think I can read it off the wall too, but you got to always work on those. You know, that's not easy.
Kyle,
that's why Rosie's out here doing it.
Kyle, you threw your bullpen session today. Talk a little bit about what your bullpen session consisted of.
Yeah, it was a little shorter today. You had a longer outing a couple days ago in pitch-wise, and you know, got out here and played catch with Cole about 100 feet or so, and then got on the bump and threw most of my pitches from the stretch, and then probably about 10 from the windup, maybe 25 total pitches. Working on fastball execution, working on a little delivery thing that I felt the other day in the game, and you know, trying to keep that fresh. But you know, everything here late in the season, especially once you start dialing the in-between start work down, it's just trying to stay fresh and trying to make sure you're ready for that 5th day.
Kyle, we have a question from one of our fans via Twitter. They want to know if you feel more pressure now that you are considered and looked at by the organization and by the fans as a front of the rotation starting pitcher.
You know what? I try to have that view of myself all the time. You know, there's times that it doesn't work out and times where you're not throwing the ball well. But you know, I appreciate that. You know, people see me that way. But for me, you know, I'm just trying to get better every day. And you know, I expect a lot out of myself. You know, I don't know if I am ever going to have the capability of being that frontline number 1, whatever people want to call it. But you know, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself as I can be out here. And you know, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And every now and then you get a little bit worse. And the goal is to just try to be on a little bit of climb, you know, your whole career.
Interesting to hear you talk about working on fastball execution out in your bullpen session. Kyle, you're throwing 2 fastballs now, your 4-seamer and the 2-seamer, so a riding fastball and a sinking fastball. And that really, to my way of thinking, has helped turn you, really turn you around. So when you're out in the bullpen working on fastball execution, do you work on both fastballs, or are you working on one or the other?
You know, it kind of depends on the start. You know, in Detroit, one thing I really wanted to be better at was being in the strike zone, and that was especially with my fastball. I had a couple starts there where I just wasn't throwing enough strikes, and you know, I wouldn't say I was nibbling. I just didn't have the command that I wanted to have. So this last time in Detroit, when I threw a pen the first day, you know, worked on a few things, and then today worked on the same thing, just command, trying to really make sure that I'm getting my fastball in the zone, because you know, if you're always battling from 2-1, 1-0 counts,
right,
you're not going to be putting yourself in a spot for success. So I'm trying to get 0-1, 0-2 as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Kyle, we really appreciate you joining us today. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your power shag, and good luck next time out.
I will appreciate it.
Group 3 presented by CenturyLink, Cave Field, Austin, and Sano. Lodge, you mentioned this earlier. Miguel Sano specifically wants to hit in this group because of the pitcher in this group.
Yeah, he wants to hit off of Jeff Smith. There's a comfort level in all baseball players, again, not only routine oriented, but there's a comfort level. And when you get inside that comfort level outside of the parameters of the baseball game, because you know, they just can't be comfortable at 7-10 all the way to the end of the ball game day after day. So you want to have some comfort levels during the course of your game preparation. And Miguel Sano feels very comfortable hitting off of Jeff Smith. He wants to hit off of Jeff Smith, and that's the way his plan is going to go.
So what would be the reasons that you'd pick one batting practice pitcher over another? You look at Jeff Smith's delivery here. It's slow and it's controlled. It's a little bit of a longer arm, whereas the batting practice pitcher earlier, Nate, is a little bit of a short armor. So for Miguel, he just likes to get in the rhythm of a guy that's got a little bit more deliberate motion. He can see the ball a little bit better with that long arm delivery, and that allows him to work mechanically on the things he wants to work on without having to worry about how he's seeing the ball.
You guys both referred to the fact that during your time with the Twins and with other organizations for you, Roy, but specifically with the Twins, that you hit in a different group each day based on where you were in the lineup perhaps, or whether you were in or out of the lineup. So when you looked at it and saw who was throwing to each group, who was the guy? Who was the guy you liked to draw, and who was the guy you wanted to avoid?
The first, for us, there were with our 3 or 4 groups, the first 2 pitchers that pitched in the lineup. I mean, it was one of the great incentives to be in the lineup, to be in the lineup, because we had a couple of pitchers that could, in the first 2, that were nice and easy to throw the ball over there. We had a couple of pitchers, and I would tell you, first of all, you never want to hit off Tony Oliva, ever, 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 because Tony couldn't throw the ball over. And the second is Dick Sutch, the pitching coach. He would put you in a slump, Timmy. I swear, if I were starting,
put me in a slump.
He'd put you, the collective you, the King's we. There's certain guys.
Royal we.
The royal we. We don't want to.
Who'd you not want to hit against?
Suchy. Suchy put you in a slump.
Oh,
it was
big
awful.
time.
Group 3, you can see they are wrapping up. The grounds crew's out to do a little quick work before the Pirates begin to hit, and the Twins batting practice is now over, but we're not done yet. Group 3 was brought to you by CenturyLink.
So I switched to CenturyLink Internet. It's great. My price is set for life.
For life?
For life.
They can't do that.
Yeah, no contract either.
What, no contract?
No contract.
They wouldn't do that. No, they wouldn't do that.
We did that.
Guys, I'm telling you.
Introducing CenturyLink Price for Life Internet. Get fast speeds up to 100 megs and keep your rate as long as you keep your plan. Speed may not be available in your area. Switch now at CenturyLink.com.
Welcome back to Twins Live batting practice. Twins have just wrapped up. The Pirates are about to begin to hit. Let's check in once again with Dustin Morse, who's with Mitch Garver to talk about how he prepares for a game.
All right, Mitch, here we are in the home clubhouse. We are in the, I guess, the bat room, the bat cave, and going through everybody's bats here. There's one thing I noticed about your stall is that you probably have the most in here, and I want to ask you why.
Yeah, so I have probably about 15 bats in here. Some of them are different models, some of them are different lengths, different weights. Some of them are newer than others. Like this one here, this was one I hit my first career home run with.
Really?
So it's kind of become my batting practice bat, something I'll probably hold on to, won't use in a game. But you know, it's kind of beat up on the end. It's getting kind of old, and you can see the finish is coming off. So that's one that I kind of just hold on to in here. You know, there's different models. There's this one here that has an axe on it, and that's one of the different styles that they have these days. And you know, the idea being to kind of keep your palms in a more neutral position at contact.
How often, Mitch, do you change your model or change the weight of the bat or the length?
Well, you know, some days you come in and you pick up a bat and it just doesn't feel right, and you know, so you grab another one, and you know, maybe the weight's different, maybe the length is a little bit different, or the model in that case. So it kind of depends on the guy you're facing today, and you know, what you're going to need to go into battle. I mean, sometimes you even change bats during the game. You know, if a guy comes in and he's throwing harder and he's throwing upper 90s, you might want to switch to a little bit of a lighter bat, and that's just something that you work on, you know, daily, just changing bats, changing models, and being able to repeat your swing.
Is there something specific or something to the grip? Because I noticed you have some of the lizard skins, you have some of the, you know, tape, no tape. What do you prefer? What's working for you right now?
Yes. So last year I used the lizard skins a lot, and I had a lot of success with them. You know, it's just a different feel. It switches up the feel of the bat. It's a little bit more cushioned. You know, some guys like them, some don't. I personally think that the bat is louder, and I think you get harder contact without the grip on there. But that's just my opinion, and there may not be any science to it.
Now, there's two things. You know it's a Mitch Garver bat by two things. Number one, if you see his name on the bat, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is you got a little sticker on the end of it.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So the company that I use is Victus. Earlier in the season, they texted me and said, hey, we have some new bat stickers coming out. So I'm a big gamer, and I like playing Fortnite, so they sent me some Fortnite stickers to put on my bats. And I thought it was pretty cool, because this is like the kind of the harvesting tool you use to break down materials in the game.
Well, let's take out this looks like a brand new bat. Let's go out to the field and see how you prep it and get it ready for the game.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Mitch, we're out here kind of near the on-deck circle for the game, and I want to talk to you about a couple things. You obviously got to prep your bat here, and you have batting gloves on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the old school guys don't wear gloves, but I know you're a guy that does. Do those gloves last in at bat, a game, a homestand? What's your routine with the batting gloves?
Yeah, so these are my batting gloves here. Nike will send as many pairs as you'd like over to the clubhouse, and you know, they come in different colors. You got red, white, blue, obviously, and we have some gray for when we're on the road. But you know, it's kind of just a feel thing. If some guys like their batting gloves brand new, I know Robbie likes to pull a brand new pair of batting gloves out for the game, and I kind of like mine a little bit broken in, so I can move in them, I can feel them, and really feel the bat in my hands.
What about Superstition? I mean, is there, you know, some batting gloves got some hits in it? If they don't, you throw them away. Or the bats too. Do you ever take your bats, rub them against a Joe Mauer bat or something? I know Escobar used to take his bat into chapel and pray with it.
Yep.
Is there anything you do with your equipment?
No, I mean, if I'm on a hitting streak, or if I get a few hits the night before, I will use the same batting gloves, and I try to keep that going as long as I can. As far as superstitions with bats, I feel like, you know, when I when I don't get a few hits in a row, or if I feel like I have a few games where I'm struggling with the bat, I'll switch to a different one, but it might be the same model, it's just different color or a different feel.
Well, this is a pretty good looking bat, so we might as well start getting it, you know, dirty, right?
I know.
Why don't you get in the bucket and show us how you prepare that bat for the game?
So this thing is so pretty, it looks like a piece of furniture, but I like to get them a little dirty. Here's a pine tar rag. This is kind of how I start off with my first stick on a new bat. You know, get a little bit of pine tar on there.
Why are we using the pine tar? What's the strategy there?
Pine tar is to add some stick to the grip here. I put it up here so it's not all on the handle, and I can grab it when I need it. So this is kind of Joe's famous thing. You know, he loves pine tar and rosin. The combination gives you a little bit of stick, but it also allows you to you know, hold the bat and it's not too slippery. So we got a nice grip there. That's my first layer, and then when I'm on the on-deck circle, I use some colorless tough skin, which is just kind of a short-term spray adhesive, and you know, I just go right on the handle just like that, and I'm off. And that's how I get ready for an at-bat.
And that's game ready.
That's game ready right there.
Will that bat see batting practice today, or you save that one for the game?
You know what? I'm gonna probably test this one out in batting practice and make sure it feels good. And if it is ready, then I'll take it out there.
All right. Well, we're with Mitch Garver, tonight's starting catcher. We'll see what this bat can do in the game tonight.
Thanks very much, Dustin. Listening to hitters talk about their bats it's a science.
We're out there, ain't we?
It is, but it's fascinating, the perfection with which they prepare the bat. He talked about all the different bats. How often did you change bat dimensions, lengths, weights, grips over the course of a season?
Hardly ever length and width. I was a 34.5 inches long, 32-ounce guy for just about my whole career. Sometimes I'd use 35, 33 and choke up a little bit. Sometimes later on in the season, I might go to an ounce lighter. But I really didn't change that much the model of the bat. What you do, though, is every year, start the year, you'd get a bat shipment from the company. You get a couple of boxes of a dozen bats each, and you'd go through those, and you'd check the grain on the bat. And the wide grain is the best wood, and the narrow grain, that was right in the batting practice box. So when I saw you know, Mitch with all his bats in there, I would have picked out in my 24 bats to start the year. I'd have picked out a dozen or so that had the great grain. They went right in my locker, and they didn't come out except for ball games, and everything else I'd use in batting practice.
You got 24 bats?
I want to hear.
I only got a half.
I want to hear from Tim in a minute, because Tim is a guy that slices one ball down the right side of the fairway and has to buy a new set of irons. But before we get to that, let's go back to Katie, who's with a special guest, Larry DeVito.
Thank you, Anthony. As you mentioned, I'm standing alongside Larry DeVito, head groundskeeper here at Target Field. And Larry, as batting practice closes out here, just how much work is it for the grounds crew to get this field up and running for game time?
We're in pretty good shape. Everything's ready to go. We're just watching the weather and make any adjustments as we go close to game time.
In Target Field, popular venue for concerts and events. Zach Brown Band actually just here this past Friday. How much work is it to get this place changed from a stage back over to a baseball diamond?
A lot of work. It is a lot of work. We've done 4 concerts this year, 3 mobilizations on separate events, and it's a lot of detail work. So a lot of long hours for my crew.
And small chance of rain in the forecast tonight. How much do you pay attention to the weather going into each game day?
Sure, the front is through, so that's good. We're watching any lingering showers behind it. So the key to the job is just making adjustments and changing your approach as the weather dictates. So.
Well, hoping that rain does hold up. Keep up the great work here at Target Field, Larry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Anthony, guys, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Katie. All right, Lance, now I'll give you the chance to answer the question. Sometimes there's a little analysis going on in that brain. What was it like when you were a hitter?
Yeah, about that. First of all, I'm blown away by the fact that he got 24 bats. I got like 3 or 4. I don't always get all. Anyway, let's talk about this grain, though, Roy. And I'm going to agree with Roy. I used a bat that was 34.5 inches long, 32 ounces, 33 ounces. And as the season wore along, you wanted to try one that was maybe just a half an ounce less in weight than earlier in the season, or maybe an ounce less in weight. And if you felt like you could get to the baseball just a little bit quicker, especially as the season wore along and your legs got a little bit more depth. Let's look at this grain. Let's look at this grain, Roy. Talk about that a little bit.
So if you can see this at all, you see the grain running along the length of the bat there. This is kind of medium grain. And if you see the space in between the grain, this is not a bad bat. This would have been kind of in between for me, Timmy.
That's a gamer for me, Roy. Don't throw that one away.
I wanted grain that was a bit wider than that. And what I did notice, Timmy, speaking of you getting 3 or 4 bats and me getting more than that, what I will tell you is that I did notice that when I got a dozen bats, I got maybe 6 of them that had the great wide grain.
Yeah.
I did notice over the years I played with Rod Carew, all of them had wide.
Kirby Puckett.
All of them had wide grain.
They're good bats.
Dave Winfield, real wide grain. They didn't have any bats.
They got the best trees. They got the best trees.
All their bats are gamers.
This is an ash bat too, Anthony, and
too much
you might want to talk about the fact that these guys use a lot of maple.
So now we've seen all 3 groups of the Twins hit. The Pirates are out preparing the same way the Twins did, but the visiting team always hits second. Let's go back to some of the longest balls we saw hit during batting practice for the Twins today. This is Eddie Rosario, 429 feet into the upper deck in right center. And then how about Mitch Garver?
Mitch hit a long one today. Yeah, look at this one right here. The only bad thing is that they don't count home runs in batting practice.
But you got to practice.
If they would have, there was one year that I would have led the league in batting practice home runs. But it's nice to feel the baseball coming off the bat and sending it a long way.
Boy, that was 116 feet off the bat of Joe Mauer, and it's when we watch him hit every day. He can't pull the ball, he doesn't pull the ball. If Joe wanted to be a home run hitter, trying to pull balls to right field, he could be a home run hitter.
Yeah, I think that's right. But you got to remember, he's been doing things the same way for a lot of years, and it's gotten him 3 batting titles and
an MVP, Silver Sluggers.
And I think Timmy said it right about another subject, but it's the same answer. If it ain't broke, don't fix that.
So, Roy, now the players are done. They've finished up their hitting, but they still have time before home team's done at 5:20. Right. What goes on, video work, relaxing, what goes on between 5:20 and 7 o'clock?
A little bit of all of that. Nowadays, they have so much video, so much technology on opposing pitchers. There'll be guys in, and Torrey Hunter was one of the best of this I ever saw. He'd have his iPad, and he'd have the pitcher, the whole delivery, pitches that the pitcher would throw, and he'd watch for a release point. He'd watch to see if he could pick up what a little idiosyncrasy a pitcher might do to tip off a pitch that he was going to throw. He would watch a lot of video about the starting pitcher that he was going to see that night and try to figure out what his plan of attack was.
We've talked about the fact that there's a lot going on during batting practice. There are hazards involved during batting practice. This is home video from Dustin Morse's son, Griffin. And take a look at this at a Twins camp. That's why they use an L screen.
Yeah. Why? That's crazy. This is, I got to tell you what.
A catcher would stand out there throwing BP from that close.
No. But this has been so enjoyable, and to think that we've just spent an hour talking about baseball and batting practice. There's so many things that we didn't cover. It's still been a blast.
Has been fun.
Twins and the Pirates tonight at Target Field. Twins live at 6:30 to get you ready for first pitch before these clubs open this 2-game interleague series. Hope you've enjoyed this special edition of Twins Live batting practice, getting a chance to go inside the way the ball club prepares every night at Target Field.